300 years ago, an ancestor of the powerful Clark family, the wealthiest in all of the capital, passed by the city's abandoned baby tower and made a careless, cruel remark. Girls are useless. They deserve to die. From that day on, every male born into the Clark bloodline carried a terrible curse. When they reached 25, their bodies began to change in grotesque ways, as though nature itself sought revenge. Their forms twisted, their features softened, and some even developed a womb, their manhood fading away piece by piece. There was only one way to undo the curse: to marry a woman born with a rare divine mark, known as the Cursebreaker's blessing. My sister and I both carried that mark. In my previous life, Tristan Clark had come to our home, asking for my sister's hand. I saw through him, though. His interest wasn't love, it was desperation. I tried to stop him, but my resistance only made things worse. In the end, he married me instead. On our wedding night, my sister left a note filled with despair and flung herself from a cliff, claiming I had stolen the man she loved. After her death, my parents turned on me. They said I was heartless, while Tristan's hatred burned like wildfire. A week after her burial, he tied me to a helicopter and let me dangle like a rag doll in the sky. "Please, Tristan. I saved your life. Let me go." I screamed through my tears. His face twisted in fury as he shouted back, "I loved Bianca, not you. If you hadn't forced this marriage, she would still be alive. You ruined everything." Then, without hesitation, he cut the rope. I remember the wind roaring in my ears, the world spinning, the pain as the ground rushed up to meet me. My body broke apart on impact, but death didn't hold me for long. When I opened my eyes again, I was standing in our family hall, the very day Tristan came to ask for a curse-breaking bride. This time, I would watch for myself how Bianca planned to save him without her so-called gift. "Mr. and Mrs. Rivers, I wish to marry your daughter," Tristan said confidently, his gaze fixed on my sister, who entered the room dressed in white. As he spoke, his eyes flicked toward me, sharp with warning. And in that instant I realized he, too, had been reborn. Bianca tucked her hair behind her ear and smiled sweetly. "Mother, father, who are our guests?" she asked, pretending not to know him. Our parents beamed with pride, introducing her to the Clarks as though she were the most precious jewel in the world. I couldn't stop the bitter laugh that slipped out. Pretending innocence. How typical of her. Before I could walk away, Tristan's cold voice rang out. "Eloise, stop pretending. No one believes your nonsense about being the only one who can lift the curse. I'd rather die than marry someone as pitiful as you." His parents scolded him for his rudeness, but he only raised his voice louder. "The curse is nothing but an old legend. It's been 300 years. Who still believes that?" Mr. Clark slapped the back of his head. "Idiot. The only reason this family hasn't turned into monsters is because every generation married a woman with the blessing. Your 25th birthday is next week, Tristan. We can't afford to risk it." Mrs. Clark's voice trembled with worry. "Your father's right. I, too, carry the blessing, which is why he was spared. We searched half our lives to find two women like us. Don't be reckless now, my son." Tristan clenched his fists, his stubbornness showing through. "Then I'll marry Bianca. She has the same blessing, doesn't she? But I'll never marry Eloise. Not even if it kills me." I could only smirk at the spectacle. The whole thing was an act, a performance to convince everyone that his decision came from the heart. In my past life, I had stepped forward and declared before them all, "He cannot marry my sister. She cannot save him. Only I can." My parents had doubted me, favoring Bianca as always. Only the elder Clarks believed my words and, after a private discussion, forced Tristan into marrying me, choosing survival over pride. But they never knew the truth. Bianca and I were twins, bound by the same blood, yet I could see something no one else could. She might have carried the blessing on the surface, but deep within her soul was a hidden flaw. If Tristan married her, she wouldn't save him. She would destroy him. Eloise's POV. In my previous life, after my sister's death, I tried to tell my parents the truth about her secret. But they refused to listen. They called me heartless, accused me of jealousy, and eventually cast me out of the family. I went to Tristan, hoping he might hear me out. Instead, he answered my pleas with cruelty. He tied me to a helicopter, lifted me into the air, and let me fall. When I hit the ground, there was nothing left of me but shattered bones and regret. Only at the edge of death did I finally understand everything. Tristan and my sister had been together long before he ever proposed. She hadn't taken her life because of me, but because she uncovered something horrifying about herself, something she couldn't face. The memory still makes my skin crawl. Even now, I can feel the wind rushing past me, the helpless plunge, the pain that seemed endless. But this time, I wasn't going to play the martyr. Let them destroy each other, if that's what fate demanded. Don't worry, Tristan, I said calmly. You're not the man I intend to marry anyway. I gave him one last look, then turned to the others with a polite nod. Excuse me, I'll take my leave. As I walked away, my parents hurried to smooth over the tension. Please don't mind our eldest daughter, my mother said with a strained laugh.
She's odd.
And not exactly a beauty either. We apologize if she's offended you. Her words stung, though I had heard worse. They had always favored my sister, Bianca, the younger twin by mere seconds. She was the pretty one, the charming one, the daughter who could make our parents proud. Every time, I had been told to step aside, to let her have what she wanted, to let her shine while I faded quietly into the background. The one time I tried to reveal her secret, my mother slapped me and accused me of envy. My father simply sighed and said, Bianca will carry this family's future. You should learn to be more like her. They had never loved me, not really. And now, I was finally done trying to earn their affection. Pulling out my phone, I opened an old message I had received 3 days earlier. I'll marry you, I had typed in response. But only on one condition. That same night, perhaps afraid I'd interfere again, Tristan made his own announcement. He would marry the second daughter of our family. The wedding date was set for his 25th birthday, 1 week later. By coincidence, that was also the day of my own wedding. Over the next 2 days, the man I had agreed to marry sent people to help with preparations, dress fittings, banquet tastings, endless meetings. It was exhausting, but he treated everything with genuine seriousness. You saved my life, he told me once, his tone steady and sincere. And you're the only woman I'll ever marry. I want our wedding to be perfect. You deserve that. His gaze was warm, deep enough to make my heart falter for a moment. In my last life, he had approached me, too. But back then, I had already promised myself to Tristan, foolishly believing it was love. I rejected him, without a second thought. Later, I learned he had taken his own life. The guilt of that knowledge haunted me for years. I had sacrificed everything, my happiness, my dignity, even my life, for a family that never cared. But not this time. This time, I would protect only the people I truly wanted to. I would live for myself. 3 days before the ceremony, he told me he'd be flying overseas to choose a diamond that could match me. Eloise, he said softly, holding my hand. Someone will come for you tomorrow. You'll love the dress this time. I promise. He left in his car soon after, bound for the airport. The next day, I went to the boutique, and the moment I saw the gown, I froze. It was breathtaking. The owner told me that my fiancé had commissioned over 100 designers to create it in time. He had even named it Eloise. As I stepped into it, the light caught the fabric, making it shimmer like starlight. For the first time, my reflection didn't look plain or unwanted. I almost looked radiant. Then, a familiar voice shattered the calm. Tristan, I love that dress she's wearing. My stomach twisted. Slowly, I turned and found myself face to face with him. For a moment, surprise flickered across his face. But it vanished as quickly as it came, replaced by a mocking smirk. Eloise, he sneered. What are you doing here? Did you follow us just to ruin our day? Bianca slipped her arm through our mother's and pouted sweetly. Mom, do you think she's upset because we didn't invite her? My parents' expressions darkened instantly. You insolent girl, my mother snapped. So this is where you've been hiding? Trying to upset your sister on purpose. My father's voice was sharp with disgust. Take that dress off and get out. Are you that desperate to get married? You're an embarrassment to this family. A cold laugh escaped me before I could stop it. I'm 23 years old, I said sharply. I don't need your permission to breathe, much less to choose a dress. And for the record, that gown is mine. No one is taking it from me. My father's palm struck my cheek before I could react. You ungrateful child, he roared. My mother lunged forward next, clutching the delicate fabric of the gown, as if it were a lifeline. Your sister wants it, she hissed. Take it off. Now. I tried to pull free, but Tristan stepped in, his hands gripping my arms with cruel force. holding me down. Under the gown, I was wearing almost nothing. The humiliation burned through me when his gaze dropped, shamelessly taking in what should have been private. My throat tightened, tears threatening to spill. When he saw the tears, he released me, smirking as if he'd won. By the time I came out of the fitting room, Bianca was already twirling in front of the mirror, the gown hugging her perfectly. The smug look on her face said everything. "That dress belongs to me," I said through clenched teeth. I reached for my phone to call the manager, but my mother yanked me back with surprising strength. "Enough with your tantrums. That gown was made for a girl as beautiful as your sister. Stop making a fool of yourself." My father snatched the phone from my hand and growled, "Go home and think about your behavior. You're not leaving the house until Bianca's wedding is over." Before I could argue, Tristan waved at his bodyguards. "Take her away," he said coldly. They dragged me toward the car. As I struggled, he leaned close enough for me to smell his cologne and whispered, laughing softly, "So, this is your way of getting my attention? Showing up here just to see me?" Then he slipped a small key into my palm and murmured, "Be good, Eloise. I'll spend the first half of the wedding night with Bianca and the second half with you." Disgust surged up inside me. I spat in his face. "You're filth, Tristan." Overflowing with it, his smile vanished. "Ungrateful slut," he hissed. "No one else would ever want you." He turned away, ordering the guards to lock me in my room. That night, I paced like a trapped animal, fury burning in my chest. 2 more days. Just 2 days until his 25th birthday. I couldn't wait to see his cursed transformation, to watch him become neither man nor woman, just a pitiful monster. When that happened, the Clarks would turn on my sister first, and my parents wouldn't escape blame either. I needed to sever ties with them before it was too late.
So I did what I had to.
That night, I made a scene, screaming, breaking furniture, throwing everything I could find. But no matter what I did, my parents refused to let me out. So I lit a fire. Flames spread fast, devouring the walls and ceilings. Half the estate went up in smoke before anyone could stop it. My parents, wild with fear, called me cursed and threw me out once and for all. In the chaos, I managed to grab my phone and call my fiancé. He didn't ask questions. Within an hour, he sent someone to pick me up and bring me to a quiet, luxurious villa. For the next 2 days, I slept soundly for the first time in years, saving my strength for the storm that was about to come. When the wedding day finally arrived, I put on the custom gown made in my name and stepped into the grand hall. The moment my family saw me, their expressions twisted, shock, fury, jealousy, all tangled together. Even Tristan froze for a heartbeat before his face hardened again. "Eloise," he barked, "you showed up like this to ruin our wedding? How shameless can you be?" I hadn't expected them to choose the same date for their ceremony. For a second, I was almost amused. I lifted my chin and said calmly, "Relax, Tristan. I'm here for my own wedding. Now move." But Bianca stepped in front of me, clutching her gown, her eyes burning with resentment. "You've taken everything from me since we were children," she spat. "Fine, you can have the dress, but Tristan? I won't give him up." The room erupted into chaos. Gasps, whispers, and confusion filled the air. "Wait, did she say her sister's trying to steal her groom?" Someone muttered from the crowd. My parents forced their way forward, their faces red with fury. "Eloise, have you completely lost your mind?" my mother shouted. "You burned down our home just because we wouldn't let you take your sister's fiancé, and now you dare show up here dressed like this?" My father glared, voice low and dangerous. "Keep this up, and I'll have the police drag you out myself." "Wait, hold on. Are you saying she's the one who set fire to the Shelton estate 2 days ago?" "Unbelievable. She's rotten inside and out. If she were my daughter, I'd have cut ties with her long ago." Their words were meant to humiliate me, but all I felt was the urge to laugh. My sister had always coveted everything I owned, even as a child. She'd twist every story until I became the villain, hiding behind her teary eyes and fragile voice while my parents rushed to defend her. They never failed to side with her, taking whatever was mine and handing it over like it was nothing. So this time I didn't bother holding back. "You locked me up and stripped away my freedom. Am I not even allowed to save myself?" My voice was calm, but sharp enough to cut through the noise. My father's response came as a hard slap across my cheek. "You dare say that in public? You were imprisoned because you shamelessly pursued your sister's fiancé." "What?" someone gasped. Tristan's parents had just arrived, staring at the chaos in disbelief. They listened as my family repeated their lies, exchanging uncertain glances. But when we came last week to discuss the engagement, she never said she wanted to marry Tristan, Mrs. Clark said hesitantly. My cheek still stung, but I couldn't help the smirk curling on my lips. Mr. and Mrs. Clark, you've always been fair-minded, and I respect that. But as I've already said, my presence here, and at that bridal shop, was purely coincidental. The man I'm marrying is having his wedding upstairs, on the second floor. Gasps and laughter rippled through the guests. The second floor? That's only for private events. No one's ever had a wedding up there, someone whispered. My parents' faces flushed a deep red. Eloise, you disgusting liar. Get out of here. From this moment on, you're no longer our daughter. Their disownment was exactly what I'd been waiting for. I smiled. Perfect. Everyone heard that, right? Consider yourselves witnesses. From now on, I have no ties to this family. I refuse to be dragged down any longer. Dragged down? Mr. Clark frowned. What do you mean by that? I lifted a finger and pointed directly at my sister. Because she can't save your son. She never could. Bianca's face went pale, her eyes filling with tears. Eloise, how can you say that? The fortune teller told us both that we were born with the power to break the curse. You're just bitter, because you were supposed to marry into the Clark family, not me. Tristan wrapped his arm around her protectively, glaring at me with disgust. Give it up, Eloise. The only woman I'll ever love or marry is Bianca. You could strip bare and stand right in front of me, and I'd still never want you. I rolled my eyes. If you're that eager to meet your fate, I won't stop you. But I do pity your parents. I turned to leave, but Mrs. Clark stepped in my path. Eloise, she said with trembling urgency, what you said just now, was it true? If it is, would you marry my son instead? A mother's instinct to protect her child never changes. Just like before, she was ready to cancel the wedding, no matter the shame, to keep her son alive. But Tristan's fury boiled over.
Mom.
Stop humiliating me. I'm not marrying her, no matter what. He spun toward me, his face twisted with rage. Eloise, stop manipulating everyone. Whatever scheme you're plotting, I'll never fall for it. Before anyone could respond, a deep, steady voice echoed from behind the crowd. My woman doesn't need to marry you. The room fell into stunned silence. All eyes turned toward the doorway. Standing there was a tall man in a tailored black suit, his presence commanding instant attention. Mr. Clark's jaw dropped. Drake. Drake Clark smiled faintly. It's been a while, brother. How have you been? The elder Mr. Clark stumbled over his words. Good, yes, very good. Then the truth finally surfaced. Drake was the son their family patriarch had adopted on the very day Tristan was born, which made him Tristan's uncle, despite being the same age. And when Tristan realized that the man I was about to marry was his own uncle, he completely lost control. After the crowd dispersed, Tristan dragged me aside and hissed, Eloise, you do not have to marry him just to spite me. He is an outsider. I am the one born to inherit our name. If you do what I asked, I promise I will spend the rest of the wedding night with you, and I will make life easier for you afterward. I jerked my hand away as if his words had left me dirty. Did your brain melt into your stomach? I snapped. Say something like that again, and I will vomit.
Move.
I have a wedding to attend. Anger flared across his face.
Fine.
Wait until I take control of this family. When I do, I will make sure you and your scoundrel husband die miserable deaths. I only smiled, cold and steady. Maybe you should focus on surviving until dawn, I said and walked off. Feeling a moment of pity for Mrs. Clark, I leaned in and offered a last, quiet piece of advice. You are still young, Mrs. Clark. You and your husband could try for another child. Next time, be careful who you choose as a daughter-in-law. I cast one final glance at Tristan, the kind you give to someone whose fate is sealed, then turned away. Bianca could not contain herself. She stepped in front of me, eyes blazing. Eloise, if you think you can claim Tristan, prove it. Let us make a wager. If I can keep him alive tonight, you will kneel before me and our parents, apologize for everything, and leave this city forever. I pivoted, letting a smirk tug at my lips.
Deal.
But let us see who succeeds first, you saving Tristan, or me saving Drake. The ceremony concluded, and most guests stayed at the hotel, eager to witness the century-old curse play out. It truly was a spectacle no one wanted to miss. That night, while I lay with Drake, my phone buzzed with a message from Bianca dripping with triumph. Sis, our parents have disowned you and left everything to me. Tristan vows to make you and that lowlife Drake suffer when he becomes family head. Even if you fix him tonight, you're finished. Go pick out a coffin, ha. I ignored the taunt, tossed the phone aside, and tightened my arms around Drake's neck. Drake, she just threatened me. What should I do? His hands closed around my waist, his voice a low promise. Do not worry, I will settle things with them one by one. For now, we have other matters to address. When the clock crept past midnight, Drake exhaled slowly and held me close. The room felt small and safe for the moment. Then, a soft knock sounded at the door. A voice, trembling and desperate, called from beyond. Eloise, please help me. A high, panicked scream tore through the hallway. Oh my God. Tristan, what is happening to your body? Everyone who had lingered after the ceremony to witness the outcome had gathered outside our door. They had not come merely for gossip, they had come for the curse itself. And that night, they were not disappointed. Get out. All of you, go away. I am fine. I said I am fine. Tristan's roars collided with the crowd's shrieks as chaos erupted in the corridor. Inside the room, Drake held me close as I dressed slowly, keeping my voice low. Love, he murmured into my hair. I finally believe the curse is real. Thank you for saving me. I offered a small, tired smile. You do realize I told you this would happen, right? He looked puzzled. But as far as I know, the family hasn't shown any signs in decades. Memories of the life I had lost surged back, raw and terrible. In that life, I had also doubted the legend, until my death proved otherwise. I had even seen Drake's broken body somewhere far away, and I knew then the curse was not a myth. Even though Drake was adopted, the moment his name joined the Clark registry, the curse had marked him. It did not care about blood, only the family name. Luckily, Drake had been careful. He considered himself part of the clan, and he had the prudence to seek me out in this life, which likely saved him from the fate that awaited Tristan. I am blessed, I said, shrugging away the memory. I see things in dreams others cannot. I did not tell him how vividly I had seen his twisted, ruined form in my last life. That vision would have frightened anyone. Really, he said, still wanting proof. Come, let us see. He took my hand and pushed the door open. The corridor was jammed with people, shoulder to shoulder. In the middle of the crowd, Tristan stood, wrapped in a towel and thrashing like an animal. Before we could get a clear view, he slammed the door and barreled back into his room. From within came his screams and Bianca's frantic sobs. You wretch! You ruined me, and you dare call yourself blessed? Tristan yelled. There were slaps, the crash of glass, the sound of furniture overturned. Bianca's voice pleaded, Please, stop hitting me. I do not know what happened either. I truly have the blessing, I swear. At last Mr. and Mrs. Clark appeared, their faces drained of color. Mr. Clark called for calm, his tone forced and tight. Everyone, please, we appreciate your concern, but let us not spread what occurred tonight. The Clark family will handle this. His words were a warning. Mention this further, and you would pay a price. Within moments, the hallway emptied. Mrs. Clark pounded on the door, tears streaking her face. Tristan, open up, she begged. From inside came Tristan's frantic reply. Mom. She ruined me. Look at me. How do I face anyone now? I will kill her. I will kill her. Bianca screamed for help, then a loud crash and silence fell. Mr. Clark began pacing in terror, stamping the floor. Son, do not be afraid. We have money. We have doctors. We will do anything to fix this. Finally, Tristan broke, sobbing. Dad, is there any hope? I am terrified. Mr. Clark tried to steady him. You will be fine. Look at your uncle, he is well. We will ask Eloise to save you. He turned to me and offered a pleading look, but then pulled his hands back as if embarrassed. No, we should rest. Excuse us. I closed the door on them and drew Drake with me, pretending not to hear any further knocks. By morning, Mr. and Mrs. Clark were waiting outside, exhausted and hollow-eyed. Mrs. Clark rose the moment I opened the door and gripped my hands. Eloise, please, I beg you, save my son. He is our only child. If we lose him, we will not survive it. Her desperation looked so sincere that I could not push her away. How is he now? I asked, steady. Mr. Clark bowed quickly, relief flooding his features. We brought him home last night. The family physician sedated him. He is probably still asleep. Then let us go see him, I said, smiling. I had not yet gotten a real look at Tristan's transformed form the night before, and I meant to study it carefully. I turned and said to Drake, "You are coming with me." He flashed a grin and slipped his hand into mine. Last night, Drake confessed something that caught me off guard. He told me he had never once stepped inside Tristan's home in all his 25 years of life. When he was first adopted, the entire Clark family had been furious. They feared he would one day challenge them for their wealth. But since his grandfather's word was law, they could do nothing except pretend to welcome him while treating him like an outsider. Drake spent most of his life abroad under his grandfather's care, far away from their poisonous circle. Even when he returned for holidays, his interactions with the Clarks never went beyond polite greetings. But now that Tristan had fallen victim to the family curse, Mr. and Mrs. Clark were desperate to keep us away from their home. Mr. Clark's smile was stiff when he invited us into the car, but I could see the unease in his eyes. He feared that if he offended me, I might refuse to help altogether. When we arrived at the Clark estate, the scene that greeted me made me stop in my tracks. My parents were kneeling at the gates. Their hair was a tangled mess, their clothes torn and filthy. The arrogant couple from yesterday was gone, replaced by two broken people who looked 10 years older overnight. The moment they saw Mr. Clark open the door for me, their faces lit up. They scrambled forward on their knees, voices trembling. "Sweetheart, thank goodness you're here. Please say something nice for us. We didn't know it would come to this." I looked down at them and said flatly, "Mr. and Mrs. Shelton, if I'm not mistaken, didn't you publicly disown me yesterday? You said Bianca was your only daughter." At the mention of her name, my mother's expression twisted. "Don't bring up that wretched girl. She couldn't even save Tristan and dragged us into this mess. We have no daughter like that." My father forced a smile and added quickly, "That's right. You're our real daughter, Eloise. From now on, she means nothing to us." Their shamelessness turned my stomach. In my past life, they betrayed me for Bianca's sake. Now they were betraying her for mine. That was when I finally understood. They had never truly loved either of us. They were only ever loyal to their own self-interest. "I'm sorry," I said quietly, "but selfish people like you don't deserve to be called family." Without another glance, I walked past them and entered the Clark estate. Inside the room, Bianca was kneeling beside Tristan's bed. Her body was covered in bloody bandages, but she was still putting on her act of devotion. Tristan lay motionless beneath a thick blanket, though the unnatural bulge on his chest was hard to miss. Some truths, I thought, can't be hidden forever. I crossed my arms and smirked. "Well, little sister, it seems you lost our bet." Her empty, defeated eyes flickered with fury. "I didn't lose," she shouted. "Drake doesn't even count. He's not a real Clark. The bet's invalid." She jabbed a trembling finger toward Drake. "You tricked me. You two planned this together, didn't you?" Then she turned toward Mr. and Mrs. Clark, voice rising. "Don't listen to them. They just want to wipe out your family and take everything for themselves." Before she could say more, Mr. Clark slapped her hard across the face. "Enough. Don't you dare call us Mom and Dad," he roared. His voice shook with anger as he pointed at her. "Your sister warned us you couldn't save my son, but we didn't listen. We should have replaced you when we had the chance. Now look what you've done to Tristan." Bianca crumpled, her body trembling. At that moment, Tristan's eyes fluttered open. His gaze found me instantly, filled with desperate hope. "Eloise, you came. You're going to save me, right?" Bianca crawled closer to him, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Honey, you're awake. I've realized something. I don't care what happens to you. I'll stay by your side, no matter what." Tristan did not look at Bianca. His gaze locked onto me as he fought for words. "Eloise, I know I ruined everything. We have not signed the marriage contract yet. Please, I beg you, save me. If you do, I will marry you, and I will make you the true lady of this family." Drake pulled me close, jaw hard. "Tristan, I am standing here. You actually want your aunt by marriage?" Mr. Clark's eyes reddened, and he lowered himself in an awkward bow. "Drake, I have never begged anyone in my life, but I am begging you now as family. Divorce Eloise, let her marry Tristan. If she saves him, I will step aside. I will even hand over the family headship to you." It was an enormous offer, one meant to tempt. For me, it was too late. Drake's hand tightened around my waist. No, he said flatly. I will not give my wife away. I promise myself to her. Tristan's hope returned, desperate. Eloise, can we speak alone? I nodded to Drake, who reluctantly stepped out with the others, closing the door behind him. Once we were alone, Tristan's tears came freely. I was a coward. I treated you like filth. In our last life you saved me, and I repaid you with cruelty. Eloise, you came here today. You will help me, won't you? I gave him a faint, cold smile. Why would I ever soften toward a man who tried to kill me? Recognition flared in his face, wild and startled. You've been reborn too, haven't you? Eloise, I knew it.
You would not let me die.
We were married before. I sighed and shook my head. Even if I wanted to save you, I cannot. Mr. Clark burst back into the room at that moment. What do you mean by that? He demanded. I turned and finally revealed the secret I had carried for 2 lifetimes. Listen, I said, pointing at Bianca. The so-called blessing does not mean we may act without consequence. There are rules. I did not believe them at first either, until I learned to see energy, a golden aura around people. My voice steadied as I explained. When we were children, Bianca radiated that bright golden light. After her 18th birthday, the night she disappeared, that light began to fade. Over the years, she slept with men in secret, and every few times she did, her aura weakened further. By the time she and Tristan were together, the glow she once had was gone. That is why she cannot save him. The room fell silent. Tristan stared at Bianca as if she were a stranger. You liar. You told me I was your first. You lied to me. Bianca crumpled, words failing her. No, that is not true. It cannot be. I kept going, cold and precise. When we were young, we looked identical. As you took lovers, you absorbed pieces of their auras, which made you appear more beautiful. But it was only surface beauty. Your true life force did not return. And did you not notice how the men who slept with you suffered misfortune afterward? Mrs. Clark's face went white, horror dawning. Are you saying her affairs cursed everyone she touched? I nodded. Tristan's condition is only the start. Worse things are coming. Bianca screamed, scrambling toward Tristan. You must believe me, honey. I never wanted to hurt you, I swear it. Bianca completely broke down, lunging toward Tristan, but Mr. Clark grabbed her by the collar and yanked her back. Get lost. Stay away from our family, or I swear you won't live to see tomorrow. Security quickly hauled her out, and my parents, still kneeling at the gates, were pushed out alongside her. Inside, Mrs. Clark collapsed to her knees in front of me, sobbing so violently that she could barely breathe. Eloise, please save my son. There has to be a way to bring him back. I helped her to her feet and said softly, Mrs. Clark, your son is lucky to have a mother who truly loves him. Something I had never known in this life or the last. Out of respect for you, I'll tell you the only way to help him. But if your hearts aren't sincere, not even the gods can intervene. Tears streaked her face as she nodded frantically. We swear it. We mean it with all our hearts. Mr. Clark, equally desperate, added, if you save our son, the entire Clark family will be forever in your debt. I began. A century ago, your ancestors angered the abandoned tower of gods in the sacred village. Ever since, your bloodline has been cursed. The only way to break it is for Tristan to kneel in the tower for 3 days and nights and truly repent. If he endures, he will receive 6 months of reprieve. Within that time, if he marries a truly blessed girl, the curse will lift. Hope lit up the couple's eyes. We'll take him there immediately. Suddenly, Tristan's voice rang out behind me, furious. Eloise, you want me, a man, to kneel before that tower? Are you cruel enough to do this just to humiliate me? If you hadn't refused me back then, none of this would have happened. I turned, cold and mocking. Tristan, if I were truly heartless, I'd have dropped you from 1,000 feet in the air and let you die. He froze, eyes welling with tears. So, this is your revenge. I said nothing, simply taking Drake's hand and walking away. Later, news spread that there was still a chance to save Tristan. The Shelton couple, desperate, dragged Bianca to the sacred village, but Eloise had made it clear. Only Tristan himself could enter the abandoned Tower of Gods. The Clark couple blocked the entrance, refusing entry to anyone else. Inside, Tristan knelt alone. By the second day, Bianca, terrified, exhausted, and desperate, crept inside to be near him. Honey, I came to keep you company, she whispered. At first, Tristan ignored her. He had gone without food or water, praying and thinking, his throat dry, lips cracking. Bianca flopped beside him. They took the car. There's nothing left. Tristan's anger flared, but he remembered Eloise's warning. He held back and continued praying, his mind churning in self-loathing. Why hadn't he listened to her in this life? She had warned him Bianca could not save him, yet he had defied her. Why had he spoken vilely, allowed her parents to humiliate her, and then stood by? He remembered their past life, their wedding night. He could barely touch her, but Eloise, draped in sheer silk, had held him close, whispering, "Honey, I'm the only one who can save you." That night had been tender, warm, full of love and passion. Then Bianca's attempt at suicide, and he became a monster. He had tied Eloise to a helicopter, then cut the rope himself, watching her body fall and shatter before his eyes. The memories twisted in his mind as he prayed, realizing the full depth of his failures and the danger he now faced without Eloise's intervention. Tristan's thoughts churned as he considered Bianca. If she's really as shallow and self-absorbed as she seemed, she wouldn't risk her life over a man. So, why did she leave that dramatic suicide note blaming Eloise? He quickly realized, unless she planned it that way deliberately. His heart pounded as the thought settled in, and blood rushed to his head. Without warning, he shoved Bianca awake. "I need to ask you something," he said. She groaned, irritated. "What now? If I had married your sister instead of you, what would you have done?" Her eyes rolled. "What do you think? If that had happened, you wouldn't have beaten me, and I wouldn't be stuck here kneeling in this godforsaken place." She shot a disgusted glance at his chest. Despite his attempts to hide it, the large, wobbling tissue was impossible to ignore. "You wouldn't have ended up like this, and we wouldn't be suffering like this either." Her casual tone confirmed his suspicions. "So, if I never married you, chose Eloise instead, you wouldn't have been heartbroken? You wouldn't have tried to kill yourself?" Bianca yawned, completely indifferent. "Of course not. Mom and Dad love me too much. I'd never abandon them, not for a guy." That was the last straw. "You conniving little liar," Tristan roared. He lunged at her, hands wrapping around her neck, as if he could purge all his pain and regret in one violent act. Bianca gasped and coughed. "What are you doing? Let me go." Her face flushed red, tears streaming as she struggled to breathe. Just before she blacked out, he released her. "Letting you die now would be far too easy," he spat, then returned to his knees, resuming his penance. The next morning, the Clark couple arrived at the tower. Tristan had passed out on the floor, too weak to move, and Bianca lay nearby, feverish and exhausted. They rushed both of them to the hospital. Eloise's POV. One day, I received a call from Mrs. Clark, her voice trembling with guilt. She hadn't imagined that one night could leave things in such chaos and begged me to check on them at the hospital. I brought Drake along. Seeing Tristan's state, I shook my head. His repentance wasn't genuine, I explained. Even if he marries a blessed girl now, the curse probably won't be lifted. The only alternative may be surgery to remove the excess tissue. Mrs. Clark paled. "Are you saying our family could end with him?" At that moment, Bianca entered the room, her posture steady, her face glowing with smugness. "No, it won't," she said sweetly. "Dad, Mom, the doctor says I'm pregnant." The Clark couple froze. "But you've only been married a few days. How is that possible?" Bianca proudly admitted that she and Tristan had been sleeping together for over 6 months. For a moment, the parents didn't know whether to feel relief, pride, or confusion. When Tristan learned that surgery was the only option, he nearly fainted again. But upon hearing Bianca was carrying his child, he seemed slightly relieved, maybe even happy. Even my parents arrived at the hospital, gushing over Bianca's achievement. "Sweet daughter, you really came through for us." Bianca embraced them warmly, instantly forgiving their past behavior. They clung to each other, smiles everywhere, just like one big happy family. I couldn't help but laugh quietly. "So everyone's just assuming," I said lightly, sharp with irony, "that the baby is actually Tristan's?" The Clark couple stood frozen in disbelief. Bianca clutched her stomach, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Eloise, I know you've always despised me for taking Tristan from you, but we've already suffered enough for what we did. Please, I'm begging you, don't harm this child. It's our only hope." Tristan sprang up from his hospital bed, furious. "Eloise, stop talking nonsense. That baby is definitely mine. Bianca's only been with me for the past 6 months. Oh, really? I arched a brow. You sound pretty confident. The edge in my tone made the Clark couple instantly wary. Take care of the pregnancy, Mr. Clark said coldly. In 3 months, we'll run a prenatal DNA test. If the child truly carries our bloodline, we'll raise it properly. But if it doesn't, the unspoken threat in his voice made Bianca and my parents tense up. Bianca's face went pale, but she forced herself to sound defiant. It is Tristan's child. You'll see. I didn't bother arguing. Instead, I turned and walked out with Drake. That very day, we were supposed to leave for our honeymoon abroad. Over the next 3 months, Drake and I traveled across the world. We chased the northern lights in Iceland, floated in hot air balloons above Cappadocia, and watched herds of wildebeest thunder across the African plains. When we finally returned home, the news waiting for us wasn't unexpected, but it was still shocking. On the final day of the 3rd month, the Clark couple couldn't wait any longer and dragged Bianca in for a paternity test. The result? The child wasn't Tristan's. They went to 5 different hospitals, but every report said the same thing. Furious, the Clarks ordered their people to beat Bianca so severely that she miscarried. When doctors confirmed the damage left her permanently infertile, my parents publicly disowned her. Desperate and deranged, Bianca pretended to repent. She begged my parents to let her stay just long enough to recover from her miscarriage. They hesitated but eventually agreed, still too soft-hearted toward her. That night, she slipped sleeping pills into their dinner, then stabbed them both to death. If you want to abandon me, then no one gets to leave. We'll all die together, she said. Surveillance footage later showed her laughing hysterically as she set the house on fire. Meanwhile, Tristan, who had been undergoing surgery in hopes of a normal future, lost his grip on reality when he learned the baby wasn't his. The shock destroyed what was left of his sanity. And just like that, the once powerful Clark family became the city's greatest scandal. With their son mentally broken, the Clarks had no choice but to take him abroad for treatment. Before leaving, Mr. Clark called Drake. He asked him to manage the family business in their absence, since there was no one left to inherit it. I leaned in and kissed Drake's cheek. Looks like you won without even needing to fight. He chuckled and gently pinched my cheek. You know, you're getting prettier every day. Are you secretly feeding on my energy or something? Ugh, shut up. I laughed, smacking his hand. This isn't energy draining. It's mutual nourishment. Unless you cheat, of course. Then I'll drain you dry and leave you just like Tristan. Drake's eyes widened in mock fear as he raised his hands in surrender. Never. I swear, I'll stay loyal to you forever.